goodness, your grace, everything about you is good. These are all the blessings I ask in thy loving Son Jesus Christ's name. Amen. Today, many people get married one day and the next are getting divorced as if they are drinking water. Some have been together for years, long before they get married. But as soon as those rings hit their fingers, some changes. They cannot get along anymore. Some have been married 20 or 30 years. And once all the children are grown and gone, they find nothing in common between themselves anymore. Spouses cheat on one another because they have fallen out of love with the other. What used to appeal to them does not anymore. But the first marriage ever performed was officiated by God himself. When he put Adam to sleep, took one of his ribs and made the woman Eve just for him. Adam said, "This is now bone of my bone and flesh of my flesh. She shall be called woman because she was taken out of man." That's Genesis 2:23. Then God put his blessing on the union and performed the very first marriage of a man and a woman himself by saying in Genesis 2:24, "Therefore a man shall leave his father and mother and be joined to his wife, and they shall become one flesh." At this time, it wasn't the father and mother. Adam and Eve are the father and mother. But he letting everybody know afterwards, you got to leave mom and daddy and join together as one. Every husband and wife and those who are planning on getting married need to understand that the word leave in verse 24 connotes a priority change on the part of the husband. The words be joined have the idea of both passions and prominence. The words one flesh carry several implications, including sexual union, child conceptions, spiritual and emotional intimacy, and showing each other the same respect shown as others' close kin, such as one's parents and siblings. This enhanced the New Testament, where it is clear that Christian mates are also each other's brothers and sisters. Even though, after the fall of man, God told the woman, "Your desire shall be for your husband, and he shall rule over you." God made woman as a helpmeet for man, not somebody to walk behind him or walk in front, but walks on the side of him, somebody that's going to help him. He never said that either should ever mistreat or hurt the other in any way, because once you are joined, you become one. You are together on everything. You're supposed to be. You would not hurt yourself. At least most people don't. So why would you hurt your spouse? What I want to talk to you about in this lesson is a man and his wife. Let me say that again. A man and his wife. We're going to be looking at Judges 19:22 through 30. Now, before I get into reading the scriptures, no, let me read those scriptures first, and then we'll go back and do the other. It says here, as they were enjoying themselves, suddenly certain men of the city, perverted men, surrounded the house and beat on the door. They spoke to the master of the house, the old man, saying, "Bring out the man who came to your house." that we may know him carnally. But the master of the house, went out to them and said to them, No, my brethren, I beg you, do not act so wickedly. Seeing this man has come into my house, do not commit this outrage. Look, here is my virgin daughter and the man's concubine. Let me bring them out now. Humble them and do with them as you please. But to this man, do not do such a vile thing. But the men would not heed him. So the man took his concubine and brought her out to them. And they knew her and abused her all night until morning. And when the day began to break, they let her go. Then the woman came as the day was drawing, and fell down at the door of the man's house where her master was, till it was light. When her master arose in the morning, and opened the doors of the house, and went out to go his way, there was his concubine, fallen at the door of the house with her hands on the threshold. And he said to her, Get up, and let us be going. But there was no answer. So the man lifted her onto the donkey, and the man got up and went to his place. When he entered his house, he took a knife, laid hold of his concubine, and divided her into 12 pieces, limb by limb, and sent her throughout all the territories of Israel. And so it was that all who saw it said, No such deed has been done or seen from the day that the children of Israel came up from the land of Egypt until this day. Consider it, confer, and speak up. Now, how did that man and this woman get to this point? If we go back a bit, we're going to have to go back to the beginning of Judges chapter 19. Here we find, it says, Now how in the world did this Levite, his concubine, which is the case, in this case, means his wife, and his servant end up in this predicament? That's what I was asking just a minute ago. To know this, we need to go back to the beginning of chapter 19, like I said. Here we find that in those days, Israel did not have a king, but there was a man from the tribe of Levi who were the priests for Israel. This Levite, he wasn't a priest, but he was a Levite. This Levite lived out in the middle of nowhere. And I guess that he may have been a bit lonely. So he brought himself home a concubine or a wife. They both the same thing. But she was unfaithful to him because she returned to her father's house. It wasn't that she was messing around with a man or nothing. She was unfaithful because she went back home. Now in those days, women were very submissive to their husbands. They did not just get up and leave a relationship. So there had to be some wrong going on here. So there had to be something wasn't right with this relationship. The Bible does not say anything about how this man was treating this woman. But from the ending of this lesson, at the end, when I get there, you're going to see, he could not have been treating her very well. He couldn't have been treating her well. But this is what is happening in many relationships today. One of both spouses abuse the other. I say this in this way because the abuse is not always the man's fault. He's not the only one that does abuse. Sometimes the woman is the abuser. After all, some women can be just as bad as the men. There are many ways of being abusive. through what you say, one of both spouses cheating on the other, or one of both spouses beating on the other. Sometimes they beat on each other. What this woman did was correct thing for her to do by going back home to her father. This year went on. But something wasn't right going on in that relationship. But this Levite could not let her go. And that's how it is with a lot of these relationships. They can't let you go. You got to go get them. So for 4 months later, he saddled up his donkey and took one servant with him to retrieve this woman. When she saw him, she asked him to come inside her father's house. And her father welcomed him. You know, even though this man was abusing probably, the father didn't see it that way. You know, he probably abusing his own wife. I don't know. Don't know. Now this is where this father is a lot different than I am. I'll tell you, I have a wife and 7 daughters who are each grown with children of their own. And because they are grown, they make their own decisions, whether it's wrong or right. I don't get involved. You know, I try to tell them things, but if they don't want to listen to me, they're grown. But I do not put my hands on either of them or my wife. And no one else should either. You don't touch a woman. You don't put your hand on women. Not a man. This same conviction also goes for my 3 sons, who I tell, do not touch either of my daughter-in-laws, or your father will be making a special visit to come and see you. I want to know why you touching this woman. My daughter-in-law. That's mine now. You married them, they in my family. That's my daughter. I have set an example for my children to follow so they can come home to daddy at any time. Anytime they need to come home, I don't care. You come home. But they each understand. Do not bring your man with them. They can't bring that man here. And the reason they can't, he is not welcome in my house until you both work out your differences. You got to figure it out. You know, I try very hard to stay out of my children's relationships. But there will be no fussing and fighting in my house. Not in here. You want to fuss, you fight, you got to take that out there. I'm not going to say nothing. But don't bring it in my house. At the end of 5 days with this man, late in the afternoon, the Levite leaves his father-in-law home with his wife and 7 servant with him. He stayed there 5 days. Every time he tried to leave, the father-in-law would say, no, stay a little bit longer. You know, it's getting late. Stay a little bit longer. So finally, after that 5th day, he said, no, we leaving. He tried to get him to stay another day. He said, no, we going home. When they arrived in Jebus is now Jerusalem. It was called Jebus then. It changed later on. We won't get into that. But the name changed. Jerusalem was known at that time. That's what it was named. The Levite servant told him, it's getting late. It's getting too late to keep going. So let's spend the night here in Jebus. He refused their request. The Levite refused their request because no Israelites were living there then. That wasn't the part of Israel yet. You see, we need to understand at the time Jebus Jerusalem was a city of foreigners. Since the Jebusites were in control of this city, the Levites may have felt that his life was in danger. But Gilbench, which is now called Tel El-Ful, was located 3 miles north of Jerusalem. The city was That was the city where the first king. This was the city. That's what I'm trying to say. This was the city where the first king of Israel, King Saul, would come from, and it would become the capital of his kingdom. These were the Levites people. These were his people. But some of those that you think are your friends, some of those that you think are your family, some of those people that you think you can trust may be your worst enemies. Because when they got there, no one would take them into their homes. Now, you're going to sleep out the street. You can't come in here. The Benjamites were not willing to extend hospitality to the Levite and his wife or his servant. The only man that was willing to take them into his home was a person who was going to live in Gilbin, only for a short time. He wasn't there permanently. He just, no, all right, he's around there for a while. This old man let the Levite know that in this town, spending the night outside is not the place where you should be. You don't need to stay out here. This is not the right town. You need to get up. You need to come home with me right now. This brings us to our scriptures for this lesson. Beginning with Judges 19:22, it reads as, as they were enjoying themselves, suddenly certain men of the city, perverted men, surrounded the house and beating on the door. They spoke to the master of the house, the old man, saying, "Bring out the man who came to your house, that we may know him carnally." Now, this city was filled with perverted men, the same as Sodom and Gomorrah. I say Sodom and Gomorrah had been. They were just doing the same stuff that Sodom and Gomorrah was doing. That's the reason God destroyed them. They preferred having sex with men. And this Levite was a new man in town. The words perverted men is an expression that literally means son of Belial, which refers to morally corrupt men who do not conform to either human or divine laws. Also, the words bring out the man shows the seductive intentions of these wicked men who sought to satisfy their homosexual desires, revealing the dissidence of this period. At the end of this passage, they said, that we may know him carnally. The Hebrew word for know here denotes sexual relations. Moving on to Judges 19:23. Let me check my time right quick. Okay, we're doing all right. Judges 19:23 says, I need to read up. But the man, the master of the house, went out to them and said to them, "No, my brother, I beg you, do not act so wickedly. Seeing this man has come into my house, do not commit this outrage. Here the old man steps outside and tells these men, my brothers, don't do this. This man is a guest in my home. What you want to do is shameful. But today, too many men think of themselves as women, and too many women think of themselves as men. But the God of all creation has never made a mistake in his creation of us. But Satan, the author of confusion, will and has gotten into many people's minds and bodies making them believe that the Lord did make a mistake in his creation of them. Now, I have some close family members who are gay or lesbian, and most of the time, nothing that people can say or do will change their thinking. I do not condone homosexuality because God said this is wrong. But I do believe that a person should live their lives in the way that they like, because if they choose to go to hell for that reason, then so be it. And it's on them, not on us. You know, they know, they've heard, they know they're not supposed to live that way. And they say they can't change, but do as you please. We cannot force our Christianity belief on anyone, because everyone has to accept Christ freely. No one, especially in our country, should be persecuted because of their race, religion, sex, sexual preferences, or political party. When I was on the battlefield of Afghanistan, I could have not cared. I could care less about any of this, as long as they watched my back and they knew that I was watching theirs. So why should I care now? I mean, there was some gay people there. As long as they could shoot, I didn't care. Make sure nobody killed me, and I would make sure nobody killed you. And that's what we did. I do not want anyone to end up in hell, but a lot of those who we think will be in heaven will open their eyes in hell. And a lot of those we think will be in hell will be in heaven instead. Looking at Judges 24:25. Judges 24:25 says, look here in my virgin's daughter. Here is my virgin's daughter and the man's concubine. Let me bring them out now. Humble them and do with them as you please. But to this man, do not do such a vile thing. But the men would not heed him. So the man took his concubine and brought her out to them. And they knew her and abused her all night until morning. And when the day began to break, they let her go. Now the old man offers the mob his own virgin daughter. She ain't been with nobody. He offers her to keep this man safe. And then he offers the Levites concubine up to save this man. But they didn't want either one. They want the man. They want him. They still wanted the Levite. But the autocraticity, I'm trying to get the word out, of this story lies not only in the degenerate intentions of the men of Gilbin, but also in the willingness of the old man and the Levite to subject the defenseless women to brutal abuse. That's messed up. Now, I know that the old man might not have been able to do very much. He old. But most of the men that I know, whatever age they might be, would stand up for his daughter, and especially his wife. There's no way. I might get beat up, but I mean, I'm going to have to protect my wife. I got to protect my daughters. I don't want to do that. I mean, that's not what a preacher should do. But I'm not going to let somebody bother my wife and my daughters. This man, what's wrong with him? But the old man said, humble them, which is expression. Emphatic expression. I'm getting my tongue tied up, excuse me. This old man was actually commanding the men to ravish the women. That's messed up. That don't even sound right. The Levite finally throws his wife to the men, saving himself from the abuse that they wanted to give him. I mean, he just took the woman outside, just throw here, like an old rag, old sheet, whatever. Just throw it out there. Don't bother me. Don't mess with me. Bother her. You can have her. The men then take her and take turns abusing her all night long until daybreak. Then let her go. I mean, they just abused the woman. This was very wrong. Because when a woman says no, men should respect her word. But too many men almost from the beginning of time have taken advantage of women in this way. They never think about what if this woman were their mother or sister. Would they want this to happen to them? And as we know, some men would not care one way or the other. A man who does anything such as this has lost the love of God completely and is only full of Satan's evil. And her abusive husband deserved what they wanted to do to him. They should have got him because he had been abusing her. It was his turn to get abused. Please allow me to move on to verses 26 to 28. Let me look at my time one more time. This man here, he's something else. Judges 26 through 27 through 28. It reads as, Then the woman came as the day was drawing, and fell down at the door of the man's house, where her master was till it was light. When her master arose in the morning and opened the door of the house and went out to go his way, there was his concubine fallen at the door of the house with her hands on the threshold. And he said to her, listen to this, get up and let us be going. That's all he had to say to her. Didn't check her wounds and check her out and then get up and let us be going. But there was no answer. So the man lifted her onto the donkey, and the man got up and went to his place. Now this poor woman makes it to the house where her husband had been asleep all night long, not caring if she were all right or not worrying about her one bit while he slept, not even thinking about the woman while he slept. He wakes up and goes to the door only to look out to see the new day. He ain't looking for the woman, he looking for the new day, and finds his wife lying at the door with her hands on the doorknob. Instead of checking on her health, he tells her, get up and let's go. That's all he got to say is get up and let's go. Are you in or do you know of anyone in a relationship such as this? Well, if there are any listening to me right now, you need to get away from this type of a relationship. Do not believe that this is the only man or woman for you, whether you have a house full of children or not. Don't make no difference. I was this type of person at one time, at one point in my life. But the God I now serve changed my entire life from what was into what it is now. When I met my wife, she had 4 children. People say, no, ain't nobody gonna marry you. She had 4 children. I wanted it anyway. And I had 6. And now together we have 10. Plus 24 grandchildren and 8 great-grandchildren. We got together anyway. Somebody will want you if you let God get into it. Allow the Lord to do the choosing for you. And he will personally give you the person of your dreams. I'm telling you. That one person that you were always meant to have through your whole lifetime. All them people you went through. All them messed up relationships. Let God find the one. Let God give you that person. He will give you the person who will always put him first in their life, so that they can always treat you as the king and queen that each of you are. They will always love, honor, cherish, respect, and never turn their backs on you. They will always treat you as they treat themselves in all circumstances. You need somebody like that in your life. But this poor woman, had died from the abuse that she had suffered. So what did her husband do? What did he do? He just scooped her up as if she were an old rag and threw her dead body on the back of his donkey and took her home. That's ridiculous. This poor woman could not even get his respect in death. He did not care as long as he had a woman. I'm sure that it did not take very long before he was searching for another. He got him another woman, I'm sure. We as Christians should never settle for just anything or anybody. Because all that we need to do is ask, and he will supply all our need. He already knows our need and our wants. There is nothing too hard or impossible for him to do. But we do need to ask, or he may not give. You got to ask. You got to say, Lord, I need some help. You got to move him. You got to talk to him. You got to pray to him. You got to get down so you can low, so you can look up. Moving on to our final two verses. Judges 19:29 and 30. Last two verses say, when he entered his house, he took a knife, laid hold of his concubine, and divided her into 12 pieces, limb by limb, and sent her throughout all the territories of Israel. And so it was that all who saw it said, no such deed has been done or seen from the day of the children of Israel came up from the land of Egypt until this day. Consider it, confer, and speak up. No one needs a despicable person in their lives like this man. Because when you think that you have seen a person go as low as they can go, some will find a way to go even lower. Instead of him sending word to her father that she had died, instead of him giving her a proper burial, he does the unthinkable. This low life of a man takes a knife and divides her into 12 pieces. This Levite literally cuts his wife into 12 pieces, one piece for each tribe of Israel. What type of mind would even think of doing anything such as this? Especially to his wife. Ted Bundy did, but he was a psychopathic serial killer. But this man also had some serious issues himself. This man was only thinking of what the men of Gilbert wanted to do to him. He had to have his revenge. So he cut his wife up, trying to mobilize the tribes of Israel to assemble for a judicial hearing. The purpose of the hearing was to determine the disciplinary action that would take against the perverted men of Gilbert and the Benjamites who supported them. In conclusion, make sure of the people that you want to be with for the rest of your life. Do not settle for just anybody, because there is no need to do that. As the Lord to put the person that he wants you to have in your life. That person may be in your life right now, but you don't even know it because you're looking for Mr. or Miss Wrong. The God that I serve will never steer you wrong in any way, but you have got to ask him for your need. The God that I have been telling you about is the same God that walked into a kangaroo court. never saying a mumbling word. He took a beating for you. He took a whooping for you. He allowed them to pull the hairs out of his beard for you. He allowed them to spit on him. He allowed them to kick him. But that he allowed them to put a crown of thorns on his head, but that wasn't enough. Because he allowed them to march him up a hill called Delgado with a cross on his back, sins of the world on him. Your sins, my sins, past, present, and future. When he got to the top of that hill, he laid that cross down, crawled over, and got it on himself. I don't care what they say. He got it on himself. They didn't have to force him on it. He came in for to die for you and me. He stretched his arms out wide so they could put nails in his hand. Put his feet down low so they could put nails in his feet. But they messed up when they raised my master up. You see, when they raised him up, he said he's going to do some drawing. He drew me. He changed my life and got me on the right road. He can do the same for you if you allow him to. Took my master down. Put him in a bar tomb. He didn't need it long. 3 days. Stay there. 3 days. On that third day, that first getting up resurrection, Sunday morning, my master came out of that grave, walked out of there, raised his hands to the sky and said, all power in heaven and earth in my hands. He's sitting on the right hands of the Father right now, saying, that's one of mine, Lord. Give him another chance. Anyone can change from what they are into what he wants you to be. Anyone can give you what you ask for. If you've been listening to me and you're tired of going through whatever you're going through, you want to change, you need God in your life, pray with me right now. Dear Master, I've been listening to that preacher. I heard the words that he said. I want to change my life and do things that you want me to do instead of what I'm doing. Help me to go in the right way and do the things as you want me to do it. Bless each one of these people. Help somebody that knows you, Lord, to be in these people's lives now. Show them what they need to do next. Help them out and put them on the right path, in the right direction. Thank you, Lord, for choosing me to speak on your behalf. Thank you for allowing me to do your will. These and all the blessings I ask in our loving Son, Jesus Christ. I am Minister Marshall Bell, Greater Peace Missionary Baptist Church, where my pastor is J.A. Moland. I'm one of the ministers there. It's 4 of the ministers, and I make 5. Pastor makes 6. But each one of us will preach to you the word of God. We're not going to change it, fix it up, do nothing to it. It's good just like it is. But until next week, I have no idea what the Master wants me to talk about, but I will be here ready, willing, and able to tell you what he has for you to know. Please come by and listen to come by and visit us at our church. Listen to us on YouTube, and you can see it live, recorded, just like you can hear me later. But until next week, I'm Minister Marshall Bell, and I'm saying bye-bye.